Hello to all of you Tristen Low Show podcast listeners. This is Frank Mandolini. You may not recognize this voice. I am the Italian podcaster who talks about the business side of wrestling. Yeah, I know, it's quite niche. But if you look for last minute wrestling podcast on all of your social media and wherever you get your podcast, you've been amazed to find interviews with people such as Rob Van Dam or Matthew Gregg from Botchamania and many others, so you get to know many aspects of the wrestling business that normally you don't hear in wrestling podcasts. Because let's face it, who wants to hear another guy talk about Monday Night Raw? Yeah, me neither. So guys, go to lmwpodcast.com or search for LMW Podcast everywhere in the interweb. And remember guys, this is Frank Mandolini from the Last Minute Wrestling Podcast, and you stay safe.
The views expressed in this episode are those of the guest and not necessarily those of myself and the Tristen Law Show. Welcome to the Tristen Law Show, where I introduce you to the personalities in and out of the pro wrestling ring. The unique part is you don't have to be a pro wrestling fan to enjoy this podcast. Hey, if you don't believe me, well, I guess you're going to have to stick around until the end to find out. I'm Tristen Law, and I hope that you've already hit the subscribe button and that you like what I'm doing, because I'm doing what you like. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, don't forget the 5-star rating and a review. And let's Apple and the other listeners know that this is really cool. Wait a minute. I know you. Weren't you here last episode? Hey, well, thanks for coming back. If it wasn't you and it was your twin, well, thanks for joining us. And since you're new here, the Tristen Law Show is a weekly thing. New episodes released every Wednesday, and don't forget to subscribe. Welcome to episode 13. And today, we will be joined by the Cheapskate Wrestler Matt Rivera, as seen on TLC's Extreme Cheapskates. Did you go ahead and watch the episode on YouTube like I told you to last week, huh? No, you didn't? Well, bad you. Don't worry, the link will be posted in the description of this episode. Before we get to my chat with Matt, daylight saving time is upon us, and you know what that means. It means that we're losing an hour's sleep this weekend. But wait. I want you to take that time to change your smoke and carbon monoxide detector batteries. That's the firefighter in me reminding you of this. If you are listening to this after daylight saving time, meaning that it's past already, or your locale does not observe daylight savings time, change your batteries if you haven't already done so. It can save you and your family's life. I met Matt back in 2009 as we were dating two separate women who had the same first names, who were friends and had pro wrestler boyfriends. Talk about irony. Matt and I became fast friends and have spent our fair share of time on the road, including a trip to Rhode Island with myself, Steve Off, Michael Blade, and Dan Murdoch. It's a story that we promised to never mention, so you might not hear that story ever. With Matt, though, I had my first big match with a bunch of WWE Hall of Famers in a baseball stadium in Brooklyn. Matt was right by my side, and we'll definitely get into that during our chat. During our chat, Matt and I talk about his episode of TLC's Extreme Cheapskates, how pro wrestling star Chris Jericho made him become a pro wrestler, his music career, his YouTube channel, and much more. I want to thank you for being a loyal listener of this podcast, and since you're loyal, I'll be back with Matt. Don't go anywhere, because when I get back, I have the cheapest wrestler in the world with me, Matt Rivera. This is the Tristen Law Show. I'm Tristen Law, and I think I'll be right back. Halloween is coming, and you know what's scary? You not get your newest t-shirt, hat, hoodie, and more from TristenLawShow.com. Not only will you be cool, but you'll also be supporting the show. Thank me later. We're the show. TristenLawShow.com. Go now! Because if you don't, I'll hide under your bed, and I'll get you while you're sleeping. TristenLawShow.com. Go now. TristenLawShow.com.
It's only a commercial, and no, Tristen Law will not be hiding underneath your bed, but seriously, go get a t-shirt at TristenLawShow.com. Happy Halloween.
Welcome back to the Tristen Law Show, everybody. My guest at this time, I spent a decent amount of time with him on the road, traveling to wrestling shows to wrestle. But now he's a hip-hop artist, he's an actor, he's a YouTuber, he's a pro wrestler. I'm sure I've forgotten something there with my friend. But as seen on the 11th episode of TLC's hit television show, Extreme Cheapskates, I'd like to welcome my friend to the show, Matt Saxon Rivera. But we'll just call him Matt for today. What's going on, Matt? How are you?
Oh, not too much, brother. How are you? What's going on?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I'm so glad that you're here joining me. You know, just watching you doing your little thing on YouTube. So, you know, I mean, hey, I'm glad that you were able to find some time to hang out with me today. What's going on with you? I haven't seen you in forever.
I know. First of all, my pleasure being here. It's always a good time. I feel like your name pops up so much in my videos because, and a lot of people might not know this, but I can't really talk about my time on the independent scene without bringing up Tristen Law. So I'm glad to be here.
You know, it's funny because people don't understand. We had a history together. Like we went everywhere together for a long time. Like if it wasn't anything, you know, like because of you, I got my first big booking because of you, and I'm always thankful for you that I was able to get that. I'm talking about the one in Brooklyn.
Oh, and I figured you meant that Forgotten Championship Wrestling.
That's
it's
right.
One of my favorite days, you know, on the independent scene. That was a dope show. Really dope show.
So doing your intro, Matt, I went into a list of stuff. But like for me, I got a long list as well too. Pro wrestler, firefighter, real estate agent, foodie, podcast host, and proud member of the AMC A-list. Out of your many hats, which one are you best at?
That's a really good question. Honestly, I would say the newest hat that I'm wearing, which is just kind of like a content creator. I never really thought I would call myself a content creator because that's such a vague term, but I would say this YouTube channel that I've really pushed forward I found a stride on it that I never really thought I would. I've always, you know, like you said, wrestling, acting, music. I always thought that one of those would be the bulk, but I think it's content creation, and it could look like a bunch of different things. But my YouTube channel right now, it's popping. I have to say, I really appreciate all of the love I've been getting recently. So that's my answer, content creator.
You know, it's funny, when I started wrestling, I never thought that I would do anything that would like help me, quote unquote, blow up, you know, like you're blowing up. I think, you know, I thought wrestling would be it, but like podcasting is it. Every single person I come into goes, oh my God, you have the greatest voice on a podcast. I don't know, maybe it's the $5,000 worth of equipment that I bought, or maybe I don't know what it is, but I agree. I love content creating because there are people out there that depend on people like you and myself, Matt, to help them get through their week. So they look forward to hearing from us. New episodes drop Wednesday, the Tristen Law Show.
Nice plug.
Of course. But we'll definitely jump back into your YouTube. But dude, your IMDb is deep. So explain.
I have not looked at my IMDb, and I'm not even kidding you. Maybe 6-7 years. I haven't even looked at it.
So who updates your IMDb?
I don't know. I mean, like at first it was me, but I'm pretty sure it's almost like Wikipedia where you can just log on to IMDb and update other people's accounts. So there's a chance it might be updated, but I have not touched it in a long, long time. But every once in a while I see it pop up and I'm like, let me check this out. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I did that.
Did you do trauma films as well? Like B-list movies and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Did a bunch of indie films.
You've done stuff like Lupe, Man on the Train. You've done Sexy Beasts. You've done Doomsday. You've done Celebrity Ghost Stories. You've done Newlyweds to where you were a security guard. Like, dude, how did you get into acting?
I knew since I was a kid that I wanted to do something where I entertain people, where I physically, you know, whether it be a stage, whether it be behind a camera, it didn't really matter. I just knew that since I was like 5 years old, I wanted to be able to provoke emotions out of people. And I wanted that to be my job. You know, we always talk about in wrestling, come to a wrestling show, take 15 minutes to forget about your crappy job, to forget about maybe you're not happy with your spouse, you're having an argument with a friend. the world is on fire. But for this 15 minutes, just forget about it. And I've always wanted to provide that with people. So acting to me was a no-brainer. I always loved the entertainment aspect of wrestling, specifically the acting and the storytelling. It's always interested me. So it was an easy decision to try acting. I did wrestling for a while, and then I basically started going to some classes in New York, and the rest was history. I was very fortunate to have things like I booked a Verizon commercial, which was very nice, especially in the wallet department.
So you were on a Verizon commercial?
I was, and it's maybe for 3 seconds. But 3 seconds in a commercial like Verizon is like thousands of dollars.
Hey, they could have me in there for a minute and a half. I'm okay with that.
Exactly. I'm like, listen, if you want me to come back for a few hours and just multiply it, that's cool too. You know?
How does somebody get into acting? Divulge some tips on breaking into the acting business.
Oh, sure. So first of all, it's probably, and yes, I will include wrestling. It is the most expensive profession I have ever pursued. That's for sure. And I'll get to that in 1 second. But I literally Googled it. I was like, acting classes in New York. I found some that were affordable because I knew nothing about acting or the world and how it works. So I went to some classes. Now, thankfully, many classes are actually taught by casting directors and by agents. So right there's your connection. It's almost like, you know, when you go to a wrestling school that does shows also.
Right.
Like, or you kind of help you're in already by doing that.
Right. Or you're going to a culinary school where the teacher actually has a 5-star restaurant.
There you go. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. You know, it would be something where, let's say it's a commercial class. It's usually broken up by topic. So there's some voiceover classes. There's some film and monologue classes. There's commercial classes. So let's just say it's a commercial class with an agent in New York. They might give you some sides, which is like a small script where it's like, oh, I'm reading this Coke commercial. I read it, and if they like me, they give me a call, you know, and then it's basically as simple as that. I might read something for them, and they go, you know, that guy, Matt, they're really looking for someone ethnically ambiguous, you know, in their early 30s, let's just say. So, you know, they might give me a call based on how I did in that class. So it's pretty cool. And from there, it just seems to kind of steamroll the same way wrestling does when you go to different schools and meet different wrestlers, and it just kind of builds your opportunities. Right. And that's the same thing with acting.
I know I have some listeners that don't live in New York or they don't live in California. Do you think that somebody needs to travel halfway across the country or the world to try to make it big in acting?
That's a loaded question, but a very good question. So there's multiple answers to that. Because of the internet, I honestly feel like you can live anywhere. It doesn't even matter. But if you can just, you know, get decent equipment, put on a really good show, you can create your own TV show on YouTube. You can have your own series. You can do whatever you want. So, you know, in that sense, I feel like with the internet, the world is yours. But if you want to be, you know, let's say, oh, my goal is to be in the new Daredevil episodes, or I would love to be on Law and Order. You got to be in the right places for those things. New York is huge right now with TV shows, especially since, you know, we have the Netflix shows now, the Hulu shows, the Amazon Prime. So it's a beautiful time to be an actor. So if you're even contemplating acting, this is the time to do it. There's so many opportunities out there and so many shows and movies being filmed that honestly, it even makes it tempting for me. But going back to the acting world and how it works, it's a very expensive thing to follow because you'll need headshots. You'll need a voiceover reel. You have to pay for those classes. And those classes are just a chance at a potential opportunity. It's not even like it'll guarantee you anything. So it's a very expensive career to follow and challenging in the sense that one of the reasons why I had to stop acting is because I get a call, let's say tomorrow at 12 o'clock in the afternoon that says, hey, tomorrow, can you make a 10 o'clock audition? And that's the amount of time you have to work with. So you're either calling out at work or working overnights only. That was a lot of information, but I hope that answered that question about acting. It's a crazy field.
The more the better. But during your intro, I did mention that you were on Extreme Cheapskates, which you can watch, listeners, on TLC's YouTube or on demand. Or you might just be sitting around one day and Extreme Cheapskates come on TLC and you'll be able to see my buddy Matt Rivera. So, Matt, how did you get onto that show? All
right, so Extreme Cheapskates, which is it's a really funny. When I was acting, I saw something about, Extreme Cheapskates looking for cheap people. And I thought that was really funny. I put together a little video for them because I'm like, overall, and a lot of people didn't know this about me, I had a lot of cheap habits. And I really, it took living with someone else for them to point it out to me because I had no idea. Like one example right off the bat, because some people question, are you really even cheap at all? Like, I don't get it. But my friend Billy, you remember Billy Kushner.
Yep, I know Billy. What's going on, Billy?
I lived with him for a year, and he used to get on my case about, I would take like 16-ounce water bottles, and as soon as I drank them, I would stack them in the fridge where I would have like 20 different water bottles just so I can like refill them in the faucet. And it was like, oh, this one's, I've squeezed it too much, so it's trash, but I have 19 other ones. And it was a really weird thing. And I didn't realize it was weird until Billy told me. He's like, dude, you literally have a refrigerator drawer full of empty water bottles. That's not normal. But in my head, I didn't want to pay for more. I was like, water's free. I just need the bottle. I don't want to keep paying for a bottle. So, and, at this point, I can look back and laugh at that because I'm like, yeah, that is kind of weird now that I think about it. But anyway, I recorded a video for them where I did a couple of things like that, and they loved it. And they loved the idea specifically of the fact that I wrestled. They were like, that we can go with that. That's great,
Right.
So that, I guess, wrote itself, and they were really excited about doing it. And obviously it's giving me a lot of opportunities that I never thought I'd get. So very thankful for it.
So Matt, what made you sit there one day, just sitting around, maybe on your couch or, in your bedroom or sitting in traffic? That's where I do a lot of my thinking, is in traffic and on the toilet. And what made you sit down one day and push the button and say, you know what, I'm going to be an actor?
So acting, a couple of things. And I think at that point when I started acting, I was slowing down with wrestling. As you know, if we had to list my 10 best attributes of being a professional wrestler, wrestling and athleticism, well, I'll say this, athleticism. I won't necessarily say wrestling, but athleticism is lower on the list as opposed to like storytelling and mic skills and look.
Right.
So I decided, you know what, let me take my strength and just run with it and just run as far as I can with it. And acting was a little tough because I knew nothing about it. Zip, zero, nada. It was just like, I didn't know anyone who acted. I didn't have a connection. I was going in blind. I spent money, which I hate doing, on things that I just didn't know how they worked. Like I would spend money on this really expensive class and then find out later, those people rip you off. I'm like, thanks. Well, I just spent $200. So I had to learn a lot of things the hard way. Decided to take a break from wrestling at the time to really hone in on the things that I felt like I was really good at, which would be the storytelling, mic skills, and, everything that goes along with that.
Man, you talked about getting that call at the last second from the casting agent or whoever it is saying, come down for an audition. And it's always like at the last minute, and you either have to call out of work or miss some kind of important event. So what I want to know, though, is what's your favorite part about acting?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I honestly just love escaping. Like escaping, I'm this new person now, which is very similar to wrestling. I'm this persona, and I love the challenge of getting a persona that maybe is nothing like me. Like I've definitely had to play a gay male before, and I found that interesting. Like it was something where I thought this guy was cute, and, as he was walking to a car, I was trying to flirt with him. And like some people might be like, that's really freaking weird. But I'm like, nah, whatever, it's acting,
Right.
And I enjoy that. If I can get the person watching to believe that it's real, to me, that's the best feeling in the world. So I love that. I'm almost addicted to it.
What's been one of your favorite roles to take on since you've done acting?
Definitely the one I was just describing. It was for an independent film, and I'll be honest, it was some years ago, and I can't even remember what it was off the top of my head, the title. But that's up there. I had to play a terrorist before in a movie called Joe's War.
Yep, Joe's War. You were Iraqi insurgent in 2017.
There you go. Yep. And that was really fun to shoot because it was an action scene. As terrible as it's all going to sound is, I'm like running and there's like bullets, hit like going by my feet, and I have this bomb strapped to my chest. And at one point in time, I release it and I scream, and like the effects of everyone getting blown away, like it was really cool. Visually, it was really cool, even though this sounds terrible because I'm really excited about this fake terrorism. Doing the role was really cool, especially in an action scene, because I didn't have a lot of action scenes when I did acting.
So walk us through a day in life of an actor on set.
On set, so arrive early, really, really early. Like, you might get to somewhere at 5 a.m. and then maybe actually start at 10.
Wow.
So you might be sitting around for 5 hours. In acting, they like to say, hurry up and wait. That's basically what it is. You have to get there on time. It's really, really important that you're there. And then you'll sit around for 5 hours. And it's a lot of sitting. You're definitely sitting and waiting more than you are on the camera by a lot.
Right.
You might be on the camera a few hours, maybe 4 hours in the day, but possibly be on the shoot for 10 hours. And 10's a good number because the longest I've ever been on a shoot is 16 hours straight, which is like not a fun time, but they're always long days no matter what, which I think a lot of people don't expect. They might say, oh, this might only take a couple of hours to shoot, so it'll be short. Nope. You will be there all day, might start at 5 a.m. and then go home at 8 p.m. So that's the crazy part. You're sitting and waiting, and then you're eating. If I was still acting, I'd probably be like 500 pounds because they put out all the snacks, all the good food. And I like free stuff. I like saving money. So I make sure I eat it.
Well, I mean,
and I do too much of it.
You are the extreme cheapskate. So, I mean, I know that you would like free stuff, but how has your life changed since you've been on TLC's Extreme Cheapskates?
Definitely going back to the first time it showed on TV. You said it to me then, and I was too stubborn to listen, but you were like, Matt, you're getting so much attention. I was getting noticed at bars, on the street, everywhere I went. People was just like, dude, are you the guy from the show? Are you the cheap wrestler, dude? Yeah, absolutely. That is me. So there was a lot of that. Still get it every once in a while, but when it was fresh, it was all the time. But one thing I wish I did that I did not do, and you told me to, was I wish I embraced it. And I explain this to people. People are like, oh, that cheap wrestler gimmick you made up is hilarious. I didn't really make up a cheap wrestler gimmick. You know, my gimmick was the #1 attraction, Matt Saxon.
Right.
So even after the show, I was very stubborn in the sense of the #1 attraction, Matt Saxon, has to succeed.
Right.
Cheap wrestler is not my gimmick. Get away. You know, I didn't even want any part of it.
Right.
Looking back, I wish I embraced it, man. I wish I took your advice, and I wish I just was like, all right, I'm the cheap wrestler. Because I do that now, and I've definitely obtained a good amount of success from it. And I can only imagine if I had done it right fresh off the episode where I could be now. Because I really think in some way, shape, or form, whether it be wrestling, managing, reffing, I think you would see me more in the wrestling world at this point in time.
The thing though, Matt, now compared to back then is we took ourselves too seriously. I never forget that I was out there and I'm like, oh, I have to win and I have to this and I have to that. But at the end of the day, like, who cares about wins or losses? It's about entertaining the people, and it's the entertaining characters that will go ahead and get you noticed. Like, I was a king for a little bit, and people hated me as a king. And now in the pandemic, I took a DNA test and found out that I'm 2% Italian. So once, I start hitting the ring again, I'm going to be letting everybody know that I'm 2% Italian. And because I'm 2% Italian, that makes me 98% better than them. But 10 years ago, Matt, even though I was giving you that advice, I wasn't taking my own advice because for the lack of a better term, I believed my own shit. I believed that what I was doing was a shoot, that I was this badass walking around. But how many badasses are there walking around? Thousands of us.
There's so many of us.
How many people out there saying that they're 2% Italian, that they took a DNA test during the pandemic? Nobody. How many people out there saying that they're the Cheapskate Wrestler? Nobody. And that's a gimmick even though it's not a gimmick for you, it's a shoot, but it's still a thing that there's still legs with it. Right.
Yeah. They could be a character. I never really thought of it being a character, but that's the problem. I never thought of it being a character. I should have. I look at it and I don't live a life of regret.
Right.
Shoot. I think back at the things that we've done and there's amazing things that I'm very proud of. Sometimes wifey likes to call me Al Bundy. I'm like, did you know I wrestled WWE Hall of Famers? And she's like, shut up. I'm like, what do you mean shut up? This is amazing. You know how many people can say that? Not that many.
You're right. Maverick, if I can call you that. Who's Maverick?
Maverick. Okay, so Maverick was probably the first nickname I've ever had, aside from Matt. I used to watch Top Gun with my dad, and he would call me Maverick, and he would be Iceman, which is Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer's characters in the movie Top Gun, if you didn't know.
I didn't know that.
And it was just a little thing that, he'd be like, oh, you're Maverick, I'm Iceman. So when I was younger and I would play wrestler or pretty much play anything where I needed a cool nickname, it was always Maverick. That was my go-to. And it followed me. It really followed me. I remember it would pop up everywhere. I felt like I couldn't get away from it, and I just embraced it. I was like, you know what? Maverick has been my nickname, and when I start music, I'll use Maverick. And I used it for a while. I feel like as I got a little older, there was a little more separation with the name. So I still use it. I'm trying to use Matt a little bit more too. I kind of like the real name thing. I don't know if it's just getting older or what.
But not for nothing, though, your name has equity in it now because people could Google you and see that you've been on Extreme Cheapskates. They can see that you've been on the Verizon commercial. So, Matt Rivera has more equity in it than Matt Saxon or even Maverick itself. But how did you get into the music business?
So music, when I was about 13 years old, I was going through a little teenage angst, if you will, kind of struggling, figuring myself out sort of deal. And I started writing poetry. And I decided I wanted to do something with the poetry. I wanted it to pop out of the page, if you will. But I didn't know how to make that happen. So I'm listening to hip-hop music, and I'm like, I could try this. But to be honest, not something just like athletic stuff, like 450 splashes and whatnot, that does not come natural to me. Neither did hip-hop. It was something that even today, like I'm still working on because I'm like, ooh, no, that can sound better. It can be, things can be phrased differently. But I really enjoyed the process. I think the first time I went to the studio, I was 15 years old. And ever since then, I just kept recording. I mean, I've been recording music like half my life, and I've never really sought out fame or fortune, So it's always just been a fun time for me.
We understand how you got into the music business. So what is Battle Zone Bars?
Battle Zone Bars, which I have the T-shirt on right now, Battle Zone Bars.
They can't see it.
Follow us on YouTube and Instagram at Battle Zone Bars.
With a Z at the end.
With a Z, yes. Thank you. With a Z on the end. Very important. Battle Zone Bars with a big old Z, no S. 2 years ago, pretty sure it was 2 years ago, I entered a contest, which as far as hip-hop goals, this was my top goal, was to be a part of this contest called Team Backpack or World Underground. It's very well known amongst underground rappers. So I was invited out of basically the whole world. They only had 64 people that they sent an email to saying, hey, we would like you to be part of this contest. Right. So I was already stoked. I'm like, this is my dream. I did it. I did really well, but I didn't win. And then I left there and I was like, now what? Not only now what, but I felt like I left there empty-handed. Like, it's like I have nothing to show for this except for the fact that I was just to say that I was part of it. And that wasn't really enough for me. I really thought about it. I'm like, there's so many things they could have offered people that are a part of it that would help. Any sort of career in entertainment is very expensive, as you know, even just setting up stuff for a podcast. It's expensive.
To at least do it right.
Exactly. My thought was, what if I created a contest that was very, very cheap, one of my favorite words, to enter, and almost everybody wins. Multiple people, not everybody, not like a participation, but like a top 3 sort of thing. And you'll get something out of it. And even people that don't win are guaranteed promotion because I feel like, hey, you are entering this for me. Let me give back to you. Do you have a new song? You want me to, put it on Instagram? We are willing to work with anyone who's worked with us because you scratched our back, we want to scratch yours, whether you win or not. So winning's a big bonus. And some of the things that you get for winning, a music visual, photoshopped like single album cover art or something like that. Free entry into the next contest if you win.
Wow.
There are free beats, free recording. Like there's so many things that can come with winning for such a low price. I want people to enter it and feel like they're going to get something when they leave. When it's over, I don't want them to think, all right, well, that was a waste of time. Like I got nothing out of that. Right. So Battle Zone Bars is essentially a contest, but we really want to give back to hip hop because I know it was expensive for me. Studio time, music videos. I probably spent thousands of dollars. Saying that out loud, it feels like I don't like it at all. But I probably spent thousands of dollars over time. And that's hard. That's not easy to do when you're pursuing something working 9 to 5. Some people have kids. It's really difficult. So Battlezone Bars is there to make it a little bit easier.
Putting together the Tristen Law Show, Matt, I realized that I know a lot of people in the wrestling business, and a lot of us are like really interesting in the things that we have done.
Right.
In music, you've been opening act for some people. Tell my listeners who you've been opening act for.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, right off the bat, the biggest name would have to be the dog himself, DMX. That was the most recent, yeah. And that, for me, was really cool because, I mean, you know, at our age, we grew up listening to guys like DMX, you know?
Right.
Like, so to open for him, super cool.
Did he call you dog?
Else? No, he didn't call me dog. Honestly, if he called me dog, I probably would have lost my shit. And he was like, "What's going on, dog?" I'd have been like, "Yo, DMX just called me dog."
He's a dog. I'm a dog. We're both dogs.
He probably would have been like, "I don't know what this guy's doing, but he's excited about something." Some other people. Let's see. Chris Webby. I was supposed to open up for Bubba Sparks, but he never showed up. I don't mind putting him on blast. Because I ended up actually being the main event of that show for him not coming up.
Well, I mean, they should have paid you some of that main event money too.
They should have.
Okay.
I agree.
All right.
I agree. Who else off the top of my head? Some people from Strange Music, which is Tech Nine's label, Cess Crew, G Moski. Who else? I was supposed to open up for Ja Rule. He's another one. Didn't show up for 2 shows.
Wow.
Calling you out, Ja Rule.
Damn. Come on, Ja. Come on, Bubba Sparks. Where y'all at, man? Come on.
Right? Ja Rule's too busy doing freaking Greek restaurant commercials, man. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, you got to look that up on YouTube. For some Greek spot in the city he does the commercial for, and it's like such a budget-looking commercial. Uh-huh. You got to check it out. But, yeah, that's a few of the names there.
That's pretty cool. But, Matt, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. Don't hate me. Thank me later. I want you to freestyle for us right now. Drop a quick verse.
I'll give you a little quick acapella too.
All right, go ahead. Drop it.
Only tripping when we living out of vacay. Show we rip it, then we film it in the same day. Amazing. New York to Beijing. Pacing back and forth. Of course, we chase dreams well. 4 bars out the box. We out the box. Giant bread, make a lot. We make a lot. Beanstalk climb, ripping through vines, rectangles of doubters. Keep my circle real tight and shape you out up. Time to sleep when my flight is leaving. I gotta be in Vegas at 8. Gotta pee and these lights are beeping because bars even sharper than piranha teeth and Vegas blades. Trying to squeeze and barely breathe. The security eyeing me and of course my bag. They gotta peep in. Better if you don't got a reason. Can't be late. Gotta keep the hands crossed like Wakanda greets. That's a little something for you guys right there.
So Matt, I know that you're a Funko Pop collector. Explain to those who may not know what a Funko Pop is and why do people want to collect those things? He's holding up a Funko Pop right now of a Pokemon, Mewtwo.
Boom. Yeah, I got Mewtwo just the other day. So Funko Pops, the reason the pop stands for pop culture. They're all things pop culture. It's a collection of, and I'm going to turn, I'm going to do this move. I'm going to do this move right here. Oh, just kidding. Here we go. Let's see. You can see I have a bunch behind me. It ranges from Pokemon to Dragon Ball Z to wrestling to music. I think I have Biggie Smalls up there. Batman.
They got a Biggie Smalls one?
Oh, yeah. I would get him, but he's high up there. And you know me, I'm not very tall. Right. So yeah, I got Biggie Smalls. I have Biggie Smalls, Mega Man, Crash Bandicoot. I have Disney guys from Aladdin to Doug Funny on Nickelodeon. I have a bunch of different things. And what they basically are just small figurines, collectibles of almost anything pop culture you can think of. And now my assumption is, your follow-up question is, what made me start collecting these guys?
That's right.
All right, cool. So I got my first 2 from my sugar mama. She bought me Chris Jericho and AJ Styles. And at the time, I had no intentions of starting a collection. Mm-hmm. But I thought that was pretty cool. She got me them because she knew those were like my 2 favorites at the time. I ended up getting her a couple of Funko Pops, maybe for her birthday. And it ended up just growing from there. We would buy them for each other. But then my family started seeing this collection grow. And for Christmas and my birthday, they'd get me some. And it ended up just being a thing where people associated me with Funko Pops. So much so that I ended up naming my studio Pop Filter Studios.
The studio where you make your music.
Pops. That's right.
Oh, okay.
So that's where the name came from. And yeah, people definitely associate me with having this Funko Pop collection. And I love it. I really, really do.
So what's your favorite Funko Pop figure?
Easy. Let me find it. Here we go.
I think I know which one it is.
Boom.
I was wrong. The Fiend, number 77.
Yep, The Fiend. I just thought I love the way they did the face. I feel like it's perfect. A little horrifying. I definitely dig this one. It's probably my new favorite.
When I saw that you were doing Funko Pops, I started looking into Funko Pops, and I was like, wait a minute. They all technically have the same exact face.
Yeah, for them, I mean, there are exceptions. Overall, yeah, they have the same sort of shape, same eyes, same body height. But honestly, it does vary. It does vary because I have some characters, like, for example, who have very tall hair. So they might have made the figure a little bit shorter. They do sell large Funko Pops, like which I don't know if you've ever seen those.
Like the Kool-Aid Man behind you? Oh, yeah.
Like the Kool-Aid Man behind me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or he's just oversized, but I had to it sounded more like Macho Man.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, he didn't sound like that. I had to get myself the Kool-Aid Man. I saw that and I grabbed it and I asked wifey, I'm like, can I buy this? Is this okay? But yeah, I had to get myself the Kool-Aid Man. But Mewtwo is also in my top favorite Pops right now. I do enjoy this.
Matt, is there a Funko Pop figure that you wish you can get your hands on?
Yes, there's a couple. So I was actually just looking at something this morning. My friend posted that he had the whole crew from the movie Anchorman, which is one of my favorite comedies. So I looked them up. I was curious. Each one is about $70 per pop.
Right.
So I will not buy that. I will not spend that amount of money for a pop.
Right.
I won't do it.
I saw some Back to the Future Pops. Because, Back to the Future is my thing, 1.21 gigawatts at 88 miles per hour. You see some serious shit. I wanted to get the Funko Pops, but I remember when Blockbuster was going out of business, I bought some bobbleheads. And I have two bobbleheads that I never took in out the package, and they're probably not worth the shelf that they're sitting on.
Right.
So I didn't want to do any collecting. But on your YouTube channel, Matt, which can be found at youtube.com/Matt Saxon, you have over 5,000 followers. And you recently mentioned in a previous video that you bought something. You bill yourself as the cheapskate. So what did you buy?
Speaking of Pops, I did buy Pops. That's like the first two things. So I got the Kool-Aid Man, which you can see back there.
Right.
But the other one I got, another oversized Pop, is the Thing from the Fantastic Four. I just thought it was pretty dope. I was like, I have to have that. I'm a big comic book fan, which I guess most people know that. Love Dragon Ball Z. Love comic books, anything Marvel and DC, I'm all about it. But I spent money on two oversized Pops, which together cost about 60-something bucks, which for me, I was like, oh, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Right, that's $320 bills.
I was almost like sweating at the register. Like, I kept the receipt for about 3 weeks, and I finally just got rid of it because I had told everyone on YouTube, actually, like, should I keep it? And the consensus was to keep it, so I did. I got new studio lights, which it might be difficult to show you in here, but they're LED lights, and it really gives it that ambiance of a professional recording studio. I never thought that I needed it, but looking at it now, I'm glad I have it. And I believe that is all I got. Oh, and the stand that my phone is mounted on at the moment.
We know that you're a wrestler. We didn't really talk much about you being into wrestling, but what made you want to become a professional wrestler?
I guess it was it had to be around 2000. I got into wrestling late compared to a lot of my friends. But the first major push towards me watching wrestling regularly was when I played the first SmackDown game. My cousin Nate was like, oh, come play this wrestling game, SmackDown. I didn't know, like I've heard of The Rock and Stone Cold, Undertaker, Mankind, Triple. I knew all those guys, but someone that I didn't know, and I saw his picture and I was like, this guy looks interesting. I'm going to pick him, was Chris Jericho. Did not know him at the time. And from there I was hooked. I was like, this guy with the ponytail on top of his head and the scraggly beard and the metallic shirt and, comes out like this and screams, shut the hell up. I'm like, this is awesome. I was just hooked immediately. Once I got hooked into the characters, like The Rock, I was just like, I want to do this, and I think I can. He just grabbed the mic, and that was it. He had people eating at the palm of his hand, and I found that amazing. Like, I remember when he would speak, I would listen, and I would tell my family, The Rock's about to cut a promo. The Rock's going to talk. And, we'd all sit around and just hear the ridiculous stuff that comes out of his mouth, penis and Uranus. And I'm like, that's great. Penis and Uranus. Still to this day, one of my favorite promos. He's like, a hell in a cell, a penis in Uranus. And I'm like, that's just funny. It's just funny stuff. I knew then I want to do that. The way The Rock made me feel was how I wanted to make other people feel. So I think since then, I had the dream or idea or the fantasy of wrestling. But then when I was 18 years old, my friend Gino, who you know, he decided to find a wrestling school because he was kind of on the same boat as me. But he went ahead and he did it. He's like, listen, I found a wrestling school. It's called IWF. And he did a couple of months of training there before I decided to start as well.
Right.
Gino ended up hurting his back. And I was curious if I would stick with it just because I'm like, starting this with my friend, it's a little easier to go through the process.
Right.
Like he hurt himself and I was in it. Like I was like, you know what? I really enjoy this. I think my favorite thing when I first started was chain wrestling. And to this day, I love chain wrestling. Like I just feel like it's so interesting figuring out the holds and you learn more and more as you go. It's almost like I compared it to like Pokemon where you just want to catch more. You want to learn more. It's like, oh, I have this new reversal that I've never even seen before. But I went to North Dakota and Mikey Dakota showed me this new reversal to a hammerlock that I've never seen. And then you take that and you show it to the next person. And it's just this fountain of knowledge. And I just found chain wrestling to be so satisfying. And then that's what really kicked it off because I wasn't sure how I'd feel about the physical aspect. I knew I liked the entertainment aspect, but I do enjoy getting in the ring even when I sucked. Like even when I sucked, I was like, this is still fun for me. Yeah, that was it. I knew personality-wise, this is probably going to be one of the most arrogant things I could say, but I still believe personality-wise, if you give me a mic, I can hang with some of the best there is. I do believe that. I feel it in my soul. If you say, hey, can you fly like Ricochet? I'm going to say, fuck no. But if you tell me, hey, I'm giving you a mic and I'm giving Ricochet a mic, let's see what happens, I'd be down. Like no part of me would feel worried. And I'm not trying to diss Ricochet. I'm not trying to shit on him. I'm just saying I feel very comfortable with my abilities on the mic. And that's one of my favorite things to do.
So you were not a wrestling fan like a lot of us, where we were wrestling fans when we were 5 or 4, and then we grew up and decided, hey, I'm going to be a wrestler. You were a wrestling fan in your teenage years.
Well, a little younger, maybe 10.
Okay.
Maybe 10. But you're right. I didn't grow up as a kid watching wrestling. I was never like a kid, just entering school age. Nope. I never watched it. I was very much into Dragon Ball Z and video games and comic book stuff. But wrestling came a little bit later. I was definitely a late bloomer, if you will.
So you missed the whole Attitude Era from 96, 97 to 2001.
Yep. My first big show that I watched was WrestleMania 2000. So from then on, I was good. Anything before WrestleMania 2000, like you said, early Attitude Era, I had to go back and watch. Some HBK versus Undertaker. I had to, rewind it, and I'm glad I did, man, because I just watched Triple H versus The Rock in their ladder match the other day, and I'm like, this is
the one from SummerSlam?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That was really good. That was really good.
Today it's really good. It's not like it's gotten old or it's not out of style. No. It's great. It's a great match.
That was a match before Triple H and The Rock were even household names, before anybody knew who they were, and they wrestled for the Intercontinental Championship. Wow. Imagine that. I remember seeing that. That might have been 97, 98?
Something like that. I think around 98. But it's an amazing match. And so is and obviously everyone knows this one, HBK versus Razor Ramon ladder match. Not only just classic ladder matches, but you can watch them today and it's just as good. But I will just say this, I am definitely a fan of old school wrestling. I feel, I will use the word if I return to the ring, I think it'll be very difficult for me to transition to a new style.
You know what's funny, Matt? When I came back into wrestling, because I took a hiatus and you're still on yours, I came back and I was like, oh man, all these guys are jumping out the ring. I need to start jumping out the ring. I need to start doing flips off the top rope. Let me tell you something. I don't drive fast on the highway because my car can't do it. I drive fast because I don't drive fast because I don't feel safe doing that. So I play within my wheelhouse. So what I eventually had to do was sit back and realize what's in my wheelhouse. If everybody's jumping off the top rope or jumping out the ropes or jumping between the ropes and jumping on top of other people, off the guardrail or the ladder, let me be different. So I stick with my old school mentality, and and they say styles make a fight. So I utilize my style versus their style, and we put on a show that is compelling with me, never having to jump out the ring or do a tope suicida is what they want to call it. All I pretty much do is go out there and work. I show a lot of the young guys, Matt, that you don't have to go out there and do 5,000 moves, because you know what? At the end of the day, you can do 5,000 flips. The first flip is cool, but by the time you get to the third one, nobody really cares. So let's go ahead and take your flips, because that's what you want to do, and put them into the match where it really matters, and you'll get that reaction that you want. And we won't burn the crowd out. So that's what I try to do. But, man, you said you're not an active wrestler now. What's been one of the greatest moments when you wrestle?
Definitely our show in Brooklyn. It was you, me, and Damian Darling. And we faced off with 3 WWE legends. And thinking about it now, it just blows my mind how many people we've had the opportunity to work with that are not with us anymore.
Yep.
But from Jimmy Superfly Snuka to Nikolai Volkov to Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Like, I'm very thankful at these opportunities that we had, and thinking about them, like, these guys aren't even here anymore. They aren't here.
You know what's funny? I realized that Nikolai Volkov passed away, but I didn't realize that he just passed away. Like, it didn't just hit me, because we wrestled those 3 guys in a baseball stadium in Coney Island in front of what? How many people do you think were there?
It's at least 3,000.
Okay, we wrestled in front of 3,000 people, and that match is crazy. I remember coming out with the Confederate flag, and people were booing the shit out of me.
I feel like I never really put it into perspective when we arrived, and it was like, oh, you guys are going to be like, do a Freebird thing. And I was like, okay. I didn't really, like, you're going to do like a Bad Street USA. I'm like, all right. And I never really thought twice about it. And then I remember thinking, I just watched it back recently. I'm like, Tristen really went out there with a Confederate flag
on. Yep.
I look at it now and I'm like, that's crazy. Especially in today's world,
Yep. That didn't age well, did it?
It didn't, man. But you know what? A lot of stuff hasn't. A lot of stuff has not.
But that was a fun day though. That was the day that I felt like, if that was me personally, Matt, I felt like if that was my last day in wrestling, I felt like that I made it, because when we went there was like catering. We were like we were in an arena. We weren't in Knights of Columbus. We weren't in some crazy place or some bingo hall. We were in a baseball stadium. And, when we walked around, everybody wanted to talk to us because we were, cool. Granted, they didn't buy our merch because we were still brand new. They didn't know who we were. But by the time we got out the ring, they were like, oh, wow, those were the guys that lost. And, it was like a great opportunity, if you ask me. And I'll never forget that. Every time I go to Coney Island, I always got to mention to whoever I'm with, I wrestled in that baseball stadium in front of thousands of people. Like you were saying when you were talking to your sugar mama, you were talking and you're telling her stories, and she's like, oh, well, you sound like Al Bundy. Like, I feel like now I sound like Al Bundy, because every time I see that stadium, I wrestled over there. 3,000 people.
But you know what though, man? You said something, and like I feel like it tugged at my heartstrings a little bit, because I agree with you. You said that if at the time, if that was your last match, you would have been okay. And I agree with you. I feel like that was the first time where I was like, oh, I feel like maybe I'm gonna make it. Maybe I made it, or maybe I did make it.
Right.
Because like you said, people were interview us. It was like crazy. It was like a whole wrestling festival that day.
Yes.
And definitely hands down one of the best experiences of my wrestling career. I want to say another one since we talked about that one earlier.
Ahead.
I was very proud of myself when I had a match at Northeast Wrestling. Now, it went terribly. It was awful. Like, it was a terrible match. I look back at it and I cringe. One thing that I was very proud of when I look back at it, I'm like, I looked around the locker room. I'm like, man, you got Tommy Dreamer there. You got Abyss there. You got Roddy Piper there. You have the Hurricane there. You have Mickey James there. You have Robbie E there. You have so many people that I'm like, Matt, just be happy. Like, yeah, it sucks that your match didn't go the way you wanted, but think of just what you did to get here at this point. And the icing on the cake for me was when I did bad, I was down on myself. I just sat in like a locker room corner and I was just like, I can't believe I went out there and embarrassed myself.
Right.
But I remember Roddy Piper. Never forget this. puts his hand on my shoulder, and he's like, now, Roddy Piper, as quirky as he seemed on TV, that's him. That's just him. He was an odd guy, but like a great guy, but an odd guy. So he puts his hand on my shoulder. He goes, if the Lockers can talk, the stories they would tell. And I'm like, yeah, sure. I don't know. I'm like, okay, yeah. The stories they would tell. I don't know. And he goes, he knew that I was disappointed. He knew. So he goes, why don't we let's go watch the rest of the show together, and we'll pick apart the matches. Yeah, with Roddy Piper. Yeah, no brainer. What an opportunity. What a moment.
Right. Not everybody can say they've done that.
No, and like I think about that moment, and that's definitely a top 5 in my career, and it's all about how I didn't, have the best match ever, but I was able to have this conversation with one of the best heels to ever grace the wrestling ring. How could that not be in a top 5 moment for me,
I agree. Matt, the thing that you were saying about you were feeling down about your match, and I always tell the newer guys that you're only as good as your last match. And if your last match is really good, like it's a high. Like I've never done drugs before, but it's like it makes you high. Like you just want more. You can't wait to get more. And if you have a terrible match, it's like getting drugs and it's like not good. So like you don't know, well, maybe I should just go to rehab, maybe I should just quit, maybe I should go find something else to do, maybe I should just go play tiddlywinks and not waste my time on the weekends. But then, you get back into the gym, you start training, and you get back into school and you start practicing some things, and then you get that opportunity to have another good match again, and boom, now you're high again. Like, oh my God, I need more. I said before, I'd never forget the match that I had with Jake the Snakes Roberts' brother. Like when I felt like, I'm just out here doing this wrestling thing. It's cool to do, but Jake the Snakes Roberts' brother put like the shot of adrenaline in my arm. Like after wrestling him, like we didn't call nothing, Matt. Like I never forget sitting in the back and they're like, oh yeah, you're wrestling Sam Houston tonight. Oh, okay, cool, no problem. I go over, the introduction. Hey Sam, I'm Tristen. We'll be working together tonight. Whenever you're ready, let me know. I'll come over. We'll sit down and talk about what we're going to do tonight. Boom. So I go over there and I talk to, I'm dressed. He's dressed. I'm like, cool. He looks like he's ready. He's stretched out. He's warmed up. I go to Sam. I say, hey, man, what would you like to do tonight? We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Okay, cool. No problem. So sitting down and, waiting. And, okay, cool. Intermission's going on and we're right up after intermission. So I go to Sam. Hey, Sam, what do you want to do? Kid, we'll figure it out when we go out there. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. No problem. Well, we're after close to intermission. I don't know what to do. Okay, cool. No problem. We got it. No problem, Sam. Cool. No problem. So I sit down. Now we're standing in behind the curtain getting ready to go out. He goes, the finish is a DDT. And that's all I had when I went out there was the finish. And we went out there and we worked. And let me tell you, Matt, that was one of the best matches I've ever had in my entire life. And because of that, I changed the way that I work in the ring. I don't go out there trying to call the entire thing. Like, Matt, you got to see these new kids sometimes. They want to talk about, oh, yeah, we're going to do a hip toss, arm drag. We're going to do a flip. And then we're going to, after the flip, you're going to kick out on 2. Then I'm going to cartwheel. Then I'm going to duck your line. And you're going to give you a super kick. And then I'm like, yo, kid, I don't even know what you're talking about. How about you just call it to me out there? And it's so much easier that way to call the match in the ring versus rehearsing everything in the backstage for me, because it feels more organic. Like we're doing it. We're not practicing. We're not doing the move and looking forward to going to the next move. We're doing the move and we're in the moment for the move because that's the only one that matters, because that could be the finish. So,
right. But hey, that I'm glad you shared that. In new age wrestling, man, it kills me. I think the biggest thing that kills me is, aside from like too many super kicks or too many dives, it's when it doesn't make sense. Like when someone has to put someone in the power bomb position to throw them and get caught by 2 other people to then do a spinning hurricanrana to then be flipped into a sunset pile driver. I'm like, why didn't you just give them the pile driver? You know what I mean? You just wanted to show your athleticism, but it doesn't make sense anymore.
Or people doing Canadian destroyers and they're kicking out at 1. Like, come on, like respect the move. Like you got guys, taking the super kick. And let me tell you, the super kick has beaten big guys. Undertaker, Stone Cold, The Rock, Triple H. But guys are taking super kicks and still kicking out on 2. Like, show the move some kind of respect. These newer kids in wrestling, they're not thinking through all this stuff. They're going out there, oh, I got to get my finish over. Dude, nobody cares about your finish. You know why? Because you're not on TV every week. Nobody sees your finish. Nobody cares.
Nobody knows what it is.
Right. Right. Like the Stone Cold Stunner. Okay, cool. That finish is over. You know, the AJ Styles Clash, you know what that is. You know, Kevin Nash Powerbomb, we know what that is because we've been conditioned to see it. But if you're not on television every single week, then your finish doesn't really matter.
No. I mean, you even have an opportunity to, like you said, try new finishes, be creative. You have the opportunity to say, you know what? I've never really done something where I rolled someone up after this reversal. Try it out. You know, like, why not? You want to try a new move that you've never done before? Try something new. You know, like you said, people get in their heads so much. And I even think something like a finisher, year and year. Like, you don't have to do the same move every day. Like, on the independent scene, especially when you're first starting off, especially very early on.
Right.
Like you said, no one gives a shit.
Right. Nobody cares. Let me tell you, your first couple matches on the indies, you don't want anybody to see them.
You know, I forgot. Going back to, like, great moments, I have a great moment with you, like another great moment that I'm like, how could I forget about this? Because it's top 3 for me.
Which one is this?
I'm gonna paint the picture. You ready?
Go ahead, Picasso.
I didn't even wrestle this night. You wrestled. I was the special general manager for the evening in Middletown, New York, for East Coast Pro Wrestling. To me, on the independent scene, I was like, we did a hell of a job with this turn. People were pissed.
Yep.
People were mad.
Yep.
So to paint the picture even better, I had recently gotten eye surgery, so I definitely was not wrestling. Gino was like, hey, Matt, you know, why don't you come down and be the special guest general manager, basically, for the evening? Sure, right. That sounds good. Now, the last time you and I were in a ring together, I accidentally cost you your match with Nunzio.
Oh, yeah.
And you weren't really happy about that.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
That was the last time we had shared a ring together. So it didn't end well. So let's say a year or so passes by. I go to the events, and I'm like, you know, let me do a good job. Let me be a really good general manager. So before the event starts, I'm walking over to people asking how they're doing. Are you comfortable? Who are you excited to see? Who would you like to see next time? People are forming a bond with me and looking at me as if I actually run East Coast Pro Wrestling. But I'm like, no, I'm just here for the day, you know?
That's it.
So it all goes over well, and now it's time for your match. I notice you've been cheating. The crowd is happy to see me.
It's not cheating. It's cheating only because, you know, I got caught. If I didn't get caught, it's not cheating, for the record. But keep going.
Well, I'll keep going, yes. I'm going to paint this picture. So I come out and say, you know what? No. I'm going to be the special guest referee. And the crowd at that point is very happy because they see you're trying to cheat your way to victory. And they know that I've been really good to them the whole day, intermission, before the show. I've just basically been, you know, kissing ass and kissing babies. Not at the same time. So anyway, towards the end of the match, you're cheating. You have the closed fist, and you have Mike Iannuzzi in the corner, and you're just raining down. I pull you off once. You say, get back. I'm doing my thing. You get back on there, giving him the business. I pull you off again. I get in your face. I shove you, turn around, make sure Mike is doing okay, flip back around. I take out Mike. I think the collective silence in that moment was awesome. It was just like dead quiet.
We shocked
And then after, when we walked out of the ring, oh man, middle fingers in my face, people telling me to suck it, you know, like people were pissed. But it's one of my favorite turns ever. Law of Attraction reunites, and the crowd goes home unhappy.
And for me, Matt, that's one of the favorite things about wrestling is that when you can invoke an emotion in the crowd, because I always say that these people work. Matt, you know what people got to do to make $10, $12, $15 an hour, $20 an hour, and then they're going to go give it to a show that they probably never heard about before, but then they see the term pro wrestling on there. But I want people to know that if you ever see my face or a name on a poster, know that I'm never phoning it in because I'm trying to give you your money's worth. Because some people, Matt, you know, put up with a lot of shit, like I said, for $20 an hour. $20 for them. Some people are coming and giving 3 hours worth of work in money just to buy tickets. They got to bring them and their 2 kids. And then their 2 kids want something to eat. For me, I like to help you, like you said in the beginning, give people that 15 minutes of escape, even if it's just doing my match. I'm going to give you that time where you can escape and you can be like, damn, that was really good. I enjoyed that. That was my money's worth. Thanks for that story.
Yeah.
I totally forgot. I remember that story, but I forgot that story.
Yeah, I had forgotten it until I was like really digging back, and I'm like, oh, that's one of my favorites. Again, I didn't even wrestle that night, but to me, my favorite thing, as we said, is bringing out the emotion. You know, I told the story, people were into it. That's all that matters. I was a happy man, you know?
So, Matt, talk about your favorite things. Let's talk about something that you hate. Why do you hate cheesecake, Matt?
I just think it's gross, man. Sugary cream cheese? No.
You ever had it?
I feel the same. I feel the same way about mint chocolate.
Mint chocolate's gross. I'll side with you on that one. But cheesecake? Don't try to deflect, Matt. Cheesecake? You don't like cheesecake? Who doesn't like cheesecake? So when you go to the Cheesecake Factory, what do you eat? Cake?
Everything but the cheesecake. Let's rewind. I don't go to Chili's for the chili.
All right, I'll give you that. Keep going. But you go to Buffalo Wild Wings for the wings, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah. But no, Cheesecake Factory, I think I've had cheesecake from there once. And the only cheesecake that I can tolerate
here we go.
is Oreo cheesecake.
Okay, I'll give you that. You ever had Junior's cheesecake in the city?
No.
Listeners, if you've never been to New York and you like cheesecake, go to Junior's. It was featured on P. Diddy's Making the Band where he made them walk to Junior's for cheesecake. That cheesecake is so good. So good. Matt, you can even order it through the mail, so I know that you don't like cheesecake. So order that cheesecake and send it to me. Just kidding. But Matt, what's next for you?
That's the big question. When I started really pushing the YouTube channel, my synopsis, if you will, for the channel as a whole is that people will be joining me on my journey back to the wrestling ring, but also enjoy these videos along the way.
Right.
And then the pandemic happened. And that really just like threw a monkey wrench in my plan. Because I really was like, all right, this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. It'll show me in the ring. It'll show me going to these different shows, and it'll be great. Then the pandemic happened, and truthfully, I'm definitely one of those, I don't want to make this a whole political, but I'm someone who's very cautious during this time. I'm very, very, very cautious. I have not been to any sort of event with people. I haven't, there's music events that I've said no, can't go to. Friends holding parties, I'm like, listen, absolutely not. So right now, I don't see myself getting back in the ring. But there's also that part of me that's very curious if 6 months, a year from now, will we be in the same spot? Like, will I still have that concern? So that's why it's become an if, because I don't really know. I'll be honest, I don't really know. I have Crohn's disease, which some of the medication I'm on makes me more susceptible to other diseases.
So you got to watch out.
Yeah, I have to really be careful. I help take care of Sugar Mama's family, you know, so I really have to not think about myself during this time. And it's a challenge because I don't know. I don't really know. I will keep doing Battles on Bars. I will keep entertaining on my YouTube channel, and we'll talk wrestling. We'll talk cheap stuff. We'll talk video games, everything under the sun. But I would love to step back in the ring because I have a little bit of an independent wrestler. I don't want to say hit list, but I don't want to say wish list either. But there's people that I wanted to get in the ring with that I never got the opportunity to. And I feel like when I was last in the ring was the best I ever was, at least athletically. I think having a more mature mindset will help me be a better wrestler.
I think that having a mature mindset for me has helped me out as well, too. But, Matt, I appreciate you being on here today. So tell everybody, you're welcome, Maverick, Matt Saxon, Matt Rivera. We'll just call you Matt, but tell everybody how they can find you on social media, YouTube, all of that.
Absolutely. So it does depend on the handle. Well, depend on the social media site. But YouTube, it's at Matt Saxon, or you can search me by just putting Matt Rivera TLC. That'll pop up. Instagram is Matt Rivera TLC. Twitter is Matt Saxon 1. And that's basically all you need to know, unless you want to follow Battles on Bars. If you're into hip-hop music, follow Battles on Bars. It's like seeing me on a second channel. So, very dope. I am the cheapest wrestler in the world. I was going to say, and everybody else is just second rate, but now I'm just combining two different things, right? But thank you for having me, brother. I appreciate it.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for hanging out with me. And listeners, man, this was such a great interview. Stay tuned for some extra comments on this interview with Matt Rivera, and I'll also tell you who'll be here next week on The Tristen Law Show. Hey there, it's your pal Tristen Law. Do you find yourself skipping past these evil advertisements every week? Well, you should feel like you didn't skip past this one because I have the solution for you. Run on over to patreon.com/TristenLawShow and free yourself from the evil grip of advertisements. Choosing the ad-free support option, not only will every episode be ad-free, but you'll get every episode days earlier. But if you love the ads here in the Tristen Law Show, there's an option on Patreon to simply support the podcast. There's something here for everyone. Head on over to TristenLawShow.com for more info. Welcome back to the Tristen Law Show, and I hope you're having a great time. Special thanks to MNYS4. I like you better before you unhinge. Just search MNYS on your favorite music streaming platforms. I listen to this and all his tracks on Apple Music. And if you too would like your music played here on the Tristen Law Show, our contact information is at TristenLawShow.com. Visit the description of this episode for links to MNYS. Well, that was Matt. What did you think? Huh? What did you really think? I'll tell you what I think. I think he sucks. Well, just for not liking cheesecake. I think he sucks for not liking cheesecake. How do you not like cheesecake? What is wrong with you? It's like un-American. But I think he's still cool. Matt and I are working on something pretty cool for you guys down the line. Maybe a bonus episode? Okay, fine. I know. I'm not allowed to tell you. My producer won't let me tell you. But just keep hanging around and you'll get to see it. But I can tell you it's going to be something different. Damn. I've already said too much. But Matt, brother, thank you very much for the time, my friend. And I'll see you down the road. Next week, I'm going to introduce you to the seducer, the chocolate thunder. She's the big bad mama, the head of the Squisher Bish Express, and the goddess Shawty. She's from the Bronx, so you already know I've got some questions for her. She is none other than Karen Bam Bam, who'll be hanging out with us here next week on The Tristen Law Show. All right, this is the time where I need a favor from you. Yep, I'm talking to you. Share this episode on social media. Don't make this be the thing that you do. Let's make this a thing that we do. Open up your front door, or if you're driving, open the windows and yell to the world to listen to the Tristen Law Show. I know, everybody might think you're crazy, but who really cares what other people think, right? Okay, fine. If you're worried about being judged, head on over to TristenLawShow.com and get yourself a t-shirt. People will think that you're really cool. Rate the Tristen Law Show 5 stars on Apple Podcast and leave a review, please. Reviews mean a lot. Remember, whichever podcast platform you're using to listen, please subscribe to get notified when new episodes drop. The best part is that it's free. Learn more about myself and the Tristen Law Show by typing TristenLawShow.com in your internet-enabled device for more info. Don't forget to change your batteries. I'm Tristen Law, and until next time, adios.